All right, what's going on, boys and girls? So we're going to talk about Western RPGs versus JRPGs, and this comes up quite frequently with people I discuss games with, because I tend to fall into I prefer Japanese RPGs. I'm not a fan of Western RPGs as a whole because they're very samey. Insert generic fantasy setting here. Insert amnesiac character here. Insert character breaking out of prison. Pretty graphics, big open sandbox, do what you will. That's one way to develop a game. I personally prefer a singular experience as far as give me a good story and give me good combat. As you can tell by the video in the background, or the list in the background, my biggest gripe is when people say, well, these are great games. If you enjoy exploration, yes, but you cannot seriously tell me that all of this entire list right here is all about modding Skyrim so it doesn't suck for combat. In the vanilla Skyrim is god awful. Anybody who plays it knows it. This is the same problem with all the Skyrim Elder Scroll games. This is the same problem with a majority of these Western developed RPGs. A lot of stuff it doesn't satisfy me. I feel like I'm waving a stick in the fucking air when I hit an enemy. The storylines are very, very generic, very fantasy setting. Oblivion, close all the Oblivion gates, and blah blah blah. Skyrim, you're the chosen one for the dragon, and you're the Dragonborn, and all the other stupid shit. Like, to me, that is very boring. It's generic. It's fantasy. It's the last thing I've played for the last 30 years playing Dungeons and Dragons. Give me something different. I like games like Torment, Tides of Numenera. I like Planescape Torment. I like games like Tyranny. I like games like New Vegas because that's the only one that is good out of that entire series because it's not developed by Bethesda. Because they put a focus on story. I'm not a big fan of the combat. The VAT system's cool. But at the end of the day, it's shoot a gun, and that's pretty much it. Then there are games on the opposite end of the spectrum for me that are very Japanese and JRPGs. They give you a role to play. They give you a skin to live in and experience that story through that person's eyes. And that to me is very intriguing. The combat a lot of the times is more fulfilling. It's play a game like Tales of Berseria, which is combat heavy, that is story heavy, that is character development from the very start to the very end. That character arc for that main character makes sense, and it takes you on a journey from the starting point to a fucking ending point. I cannot say that about any Skyrim or Bethesda developed game, or even a Western style game that I like. And I emphasize that there are still games that I like that doesn't do that for me. Now, some people are going to sit there and say, well, what about Mass Effect? Mass Effect, it tried a lot. Listen, last 15 minutes of that game don't exist for me. That game series ends with the Citadel DLC. There is no mission at the end. That's my ending. The Witcher is probably the closest that you will get out of me for a game series that I can find good story and satisfying combat as far as Western developed games. Japanese games, though, to me, offer more unique experiences, more unique storylines, more interesting characters, more diverse characters. Yes, they play tropes, but so don't Western RPGs. Every genre of every fucking thing plays tropes at some point in its series. At least with JRPGs, I can get a fantasy setting like Tales of Berseria. Or, if I want something different, I can go and play Star Ocean. Or if I want, there's a wide gambit. Steampunk, dieselpunk. They're all there. And that is something that I think fans of the genre for Western RPGs will not understand. So if you love Skyrim and if you love that experience, enjoy it. You will not find my mass enjoyment from me for those type of RPGs. Most of mine will come from Japanese RPGs. So when you see game recommendations that are a lot of Japanese RPGs, that's why. And if you don't like it, here's a brilliant idea. Shut up and don't play them. Or if you're actually a gamer who's actually interested in having a broader worldview through experience, more than once or twice, actually dive into a genre. Because I found that I don't like Western RPGs based off experience of playing a wide gambit of them. Again, I've played Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3. I've played Andromeda. I've played Dragon Age. I've played The Witcher 1, 2, and 3. I've played Dragon Age 1, 2, and Inquisition. Only good one is Origins. I've played Torment, Tides of Numenera, Tyranny, take your pick. I've, Skyrim, Oblivion, New Vegas. I've played a wide gambit to find that that's just not a genre I care about. A lot of people who say, I don't agree, is because they had that one experience with Final Fantasy, or they had that one experience with X, Y, or Z. Explore a genre in order to actually get a feel for a genre. Or else you're going to look a lot like a lot of these reaction channels that are not like tech-based, and they listen to, the rapper listens to Ginger for the first time or something. And they don't understand how they go from singing, screaming, and all the other stuff, and they can't appreciate it, or at least understand it, because they haven't experienced it enough. And you can only experience enough by diving into it. Speaking about the topic, ignorance is worse than being oblivious. Because then you're trying to pass off ignorance as fact. And if there's one thing on this channel that I have tried to say the most, I hate people doing that. So, you don't like it, at least attempt an experience of it other than once or twice. Actually dive into it. Then speak your knowledge on the subject.